Good morning, hello, and welcome back to the Inside Edge podcast, episode 19. It is January 22nd. I am Gehrig Schilling. As always, I am joined by my co-host, Coach Clark. How we doing, Coach?
I'm doing awesome this morning.
We have got a couple of updates from around the league to get you guys clued in on. The Flames traded Rasmus Anderson to Vegas, and the Canucks traded Kiefer Sherwood. Most recently, we had a few more like minor signings in between here and there. And then in bigger news, the one that took over the internet by storm last week or last night or 2 days ago now, is the goalie fight we had. You were sending me clips before the show, Coach, of just some old school Donniebrooks between guys. We had Sergei Bobrovsky and Alex Nedeljkovic.
Nedeljkovic. Yep.
Started with a Evan Rodriguez. I think the whistle was blowing the entire way through his hit on a San Jose Shark that caused Nedeljkovic to go over and take onus. And Bobrovsky also met the challenge and skated out to center ice. And it was a real fight.
But yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of a pile. Everyone was standing around behind the goal line, below the goal line, and Nedeljkovic came in and grabbed a guy from behind, I think, if I saw the right clip, and didn't really do a lot. But then Bob must have been bored, and it turned into a good one. But watching the clip, I was really surprised that they didn't take their masks off right away.
You're not allowed to, right?
Yeah, well, I guess so. I mean,
but they both they leaned into each other.
You know how it is. They have their masks to a point where they can just shake them off and move. They pop off like nothing. But I was kind of wondering who's gonna have their mask come off first. So the other guy still blows into a metal cage. But I think Ned's came off first, and then Bobrovsky's came off later. But there were some good blows thrown in there. And if you got to fight, if goalie's going to fight, you can shoot him with a gun, and you're not going to hurt a goalie, right?
Yeah.
But you got to, if you want to try to hurt the guy, then you got to get some blows in. But it was a legit fight, and I can't remember who came out on top. I think Nedeljkovic had him pinned, or is it the other way around?
Yeah, toward the end, it was the cool part about it. I don't know if it's the same for skaters as it is goalies. I'm assuming it's a penalty if they take their own helmet off nowadays, which is stupid, I think. But they if you look, they both like leaned in enough for them to allow the other one to take their helmet off because they wanted it to be a real fight, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah. It was legit. And I didn't see, did they actually serve time in the box?
No,
they didn't go to the clink, huh?
No. That'd be awesome, though. I'd love to see that one day.
It would be hilarious. But you don't, it's so rare for goalies to do it. But, when that was going on, the crowd in Florida, was in Florida, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They were going absolutely berserk. And this is all about entertainment. Everyone got their money's worth just on that one. It was phenomenal. I loved it. I thought it was great.
There's few things in sport like being at a hockey rink and seeing the goalies at both ends jawing at each other. Like, do you want to?
Let's go.
And that anticipation as they skate toward each other in the giant pillow costumes. If you've never really been to a hockey game before, it looks ridiculous. And if you're a long veteran hockey fan, it's just as fun to watch too. So
yeah,
love seeing that stuff.
Going at you, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's really how it is. Just they're looking at each other and they kind of nod. So you want to go? Let's go. Okay. But when one guy flies down to the other end, it's one thing to meet at center ice, which is kind of almost better because you're at center stage.
Gladiators.
Yeah, exactly is what it is. But I think it's awesome. I think it's great for the sport. Nothing wrong with it. It's honest hockey.
Yep. And do you want to tell the story you told me before the pod, Coach, about the goalie fight? And I'll show the clip.
Yeah. So I had worked with a goalie named Garth at the University of Maine, and not long, but I've known Snowy since he was 18. Blue collar kid from Massachusetts, and very very humble, hardworking blue collar kid. Best way to put it. So he goes to Maine, and he doesn't get a dime of financial assistance until the senior year. Got lied to, and anyway, they went on to win a national championship, but they had a duo. They had two goalies at split time, Mike Dunham. So they both went on to have long NHL careers. Mike Dunham, Garth Snow, and Snowy played for 5 teams, maybe Dunham maybe 2 or 3, and so they go. I think Snowy is in Vancouver at one point, and Dunham played the majority of his career in Nashville, and I think I don't know where the game was played. It might have been Nashville.
It's
But
Nashville.
they went at it, right? So the backstory to this, there's clips that they went at it. There's a full out brawl, and the goalies clashed, and they're throwing blows. Former teammates won a national championship together at Maine, but they were also the best man at each other's wedding. All right. So here they are. Here they are going at it, and I remember talking to Snowy about it after. It was long after. He said, "Yeah, we were both laughing while we were throwing blows. We were kind of like literally laughing." And
Look at him
one,
trying to get involved.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But Snowy
There they
was
are.
Garth Snow went on to be a longtime GM, the New York Islanders. And so he had a long career in the NHL, over 20, well over 20 years as a player or in management. So he's been around, but this was not his first fight.
You can tell that they're having a hard time
Oh, yeah.
catching their
Oh, yeah.
breath.
Oh,
You
yeah, they're
can't see him
laughing.
laughing, but
Like he told me, they were literally laughing right there. And but the fans don't know it. But they all know it's kind of a show, it's entertainment. But they had a good time doing it.
and
It's a
that's
great career.
that's Nashville in 1998. Hockey is very new around here in Nashville at that
Yeah.
time. I can't imagine what the atmosphere was like when you saw them skating at each other.
Like I bet you their season ticket holder number,
From that day.
counter number went up after
Yeah,
that one. Like
definitely right.
yeah, it'll lock people in. I don't think Nashville's ever had a ticket problem anyway, but that solidified it right there when you see two goalies go at it. But the backstory of that is they're best of friends, and they've been tight for a long time, and as I said, they were best man at each other's wedding. There's some great footage, but Garth Snow, um, I know that he went at it with Steve Shields, who was a really good goalie at Michigan, and then had a pretty good career in the NHL. And I don't know if there's any bad blood between them, but boy, Snowy's a fiery type. He's one of the best human beings I've been around. Just a very honest individual, blue collar, like I mentioned before, and never had anything as a kid. I mean, nothing was given to him; he had to work for it. But really, really good dude, and I think a very good GM, because working for the Islanders back then, they had an ownership group that was just a little bit over the top, and very difficult to deal with. But
I mean,
it's a
Lou has been a notorious hockey guy
yeah. I
forever in
think
terms of weirdness.
the owner at the time was Charles Wang. And the funny part is it's spelled Wang. And I remember Snowy hired me as a scout back in '06 or '07, and we brought up his name, and I said, "Mr. Wang." He goes, "No," and he corrected me like instantly, like, "No, don't ever say that. It's Wang. It's not Wang." And so I go, Sorry, but
Sorry.
they're very, very touchy about that. But no, so had a really good career. Very, very good, shrewd business guy, and but worked in a really difficult circumstance in New York with that owner, and the owner has since passed. So we'll take it. We'll tread lightly on that. But it was a situation where any decision made on personnel had to be done by committee,
Yeah, that's the
and you can't operate that way, and GMs couldn't make any decisions on their own. They had, I mean, most GMs and most people are gonna, they're gonna talk about it. They're gonna get consensus, but it had to be with the Islanders. It had to be done by committee. You had a committee, and some of these people knew nothing about the sport of ice hockey, and they had to get their 2 cents in, and it was really strange. A very, very difficult situation to be in for Snowy, but it was a job first of all, and I'm sure he got paid well, and he had some longevity in the game, so good for him. And he signed a 10-year contract, and he didn't make it all 10 years because new ownership came in, and then they got rid of Garth and brought someone else in. But he had 10 years
That's not
guaranteed.
bad work if you can get it.
Yeah, no, good for him. Good for him. So anyway, but yeah, plenty of goalie fights to go around, plenty of footage, and you want to excite a crowd. You don't see that very often. I don't know when the last one was, Gehrig, but it's been a while. You
Not
know,
one
you
that
want
good. Not that I can
to
remember.
no, you want to electrify a crowd and lock them in, so to speak. That's a good way to do it.
Agreed. In more goalie news, one of these stories that has gone pretty much viral. I've talked about it with my girlfriend and multiple people in my life that aren't even hockey fans, just because of the human interest piece of it. Is Linus Ullmark addressed his leave of absence very recently. Discussed panic attacks during a Leafs game earlier in the month. Why he left in his current mental state. Stating that the infidelity rumors are, in his words, bullshit, and that there's still a strong stigma around mental health. I don't know if you had thoughts, Coach. I watched the interview
I
this
do.
morning. All right,
Yeah, I
I'll let
do.
you go first.
I know enough, and over the years, enough people at that level, um, that the infidelity part. Absolutely, I believe that story. I believe it happened. I don't have any proof. Just my gut tells me that it's probably true, and because it happens so much. You know, you can talk about the divorce rates of pro athletes after they get done playing. It's like at 78%.
I mean,
After their
baseline
first
divorce is
sport.
a 50% chance, so it
Yeah,
doesn't get
yeah,
better with money.
right, right, yeah, and all of a sudden the money stops. You're making millions a year, and all of a sudden you're lucky if you're making $50,000 a year. So yeah, the money stops. The spouse might leave, whatever. Um, I believe it. I believe it happened, but I don't have any proof, of course. But it would not surprise me if it was 100% true. Otherwise, if something happens and or a rumor starts, I mean, who's going to make something like that up?
That's my feeling from
Yeah,
growing up with a father who played 20 years of professional sports. There's a lot of stuff that gets talked about. There's a lot of rumors that get started, a lot of hearsay and BS. But where there's smoke, there's fire has been something my dad has always told me. And you don't start rumors like this from nowhere. There's no like blank slate you're starting this rumor on and building on top of that. There's a base that comes
yeah,
from something. And
yeah,
for those people that don't know, what I had originally heard was that Linus Ullmark confided to his wife about other guys on his team that were having extramarital affairs on the road. Supposedly, he was caught having a similar extramarital affair. This is all alleged, by the way. He
right.
denies it completely. And that when his wife found out about his extramarital affair, she then told other women on the teams,
Yeah,
other players on the team's wives about this, which has since caused a schism, which is why Linus left for a period of time. He says it is because of panic attacks that started during a Leafs game and that it kind of snowballed from there and that he wasn't able to get himself under control, which is a totally believable thing. But
yeah. Oh, yeah,
why would that be happening at such a random time? Again, where there's
exactly.
Again, I'll
Yeah,
I'll reiterate this part. My dad played for 20 years. Where there's smoke, there's fire. As someone who's my dad's had plenty of rumors started about him. Never once has there been any sort of infidelity, anything, because there wasn't a place for that to
yeah,
start at. You know,
right. Yeah, never happened. But in this case, I just know the industry well enough. It doesn't matter if it's baseball or basketball or hockey or football. It happens, and it usually money is money is the root cause. You want to call a spade a spade. It happens because of guys get cocky and they they feel like this is doable. They get away with it, but it happens. And then I know it happens in the National Hockey League and in other levels of hockey too. But that's where you have most of the adults is in that league, and it does happen. So when I first heard about it, I went, "Yeah, I'm sure there's some truth to that." But it sounds legit to me, just the possibility of it. I hope it's not true, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was right on the money.
It's also a thing where guys have been handed an amount of money they never thought they would have in their entire life at 22 years old. They get married very early. They start to push their life into a later stage than they're mentally ready for
Yeah.
because they've been forced to become an adult all at once at 19 years old. Part of the interview that Linus gave was talking about like how accessible athletes are now and why sometimes you won't see guys open up is because of this stigma around mental health. I wanted to categorically say that I disagree with that entirely because I think compared to where when I was growing up to now, it is night and day difference.
Mm,
You weren't
yeah.
allowed to take mental health leave of absences in the 90s and 2000s. That was not a thing.
No.
Linus would have had to be getting divorced from his wife to even have a chance at leaving the team for a personal matter or a family. It would have to be something so serious.
Yeah. Like having a baby was even questionable.
Yeah, you're lucky if
You
you get
you
to
can
be
have a
there.
minute. And now there's yeah, it's not even an issue. But you're exactly right. But I mean, you have to understand how catered these athletes are. And it's kind of backwards because they're making so much money and good for them. They're putting in the work and they have the talent and they should be making money. But meals are catered, the chartered flights. There's no buses, right? So they're pampered. They're 100% absolutely pampered. And if they're not, no one's going to play in those cities, right? But it's a league standard. But human nature will tell you that, the more pampered you are, the more you think you can do pretty much anything you want, and there will be no consequences. And I think that's really one of the big issues with the whole thing, and that's really where you are. I mean, I know of back in the day, especially the infidelity was a it just happens and it continues on today. So, but the Linus Ullmark thing would not surprise me one bit. And when you start, that's the line you don't cross is talking about things like that that goes on in the locker room. You just don't talk about it.
I knew
And
that as a 6-year-old, coach.
yeah, yeah, well, it's pretty sad, huh? But but for a while, I can understand if that's the case where the wife found out about all the stories she's been told about teammates, or her husband's teammates doing what they do behind the scenes, and then her own husband does it, and if it is true, and then I can absolutely understand. She's like, screw this, and the whole world's gonna know. So that's pretty much what she did, And again, it's all hearsay, but in my opinion, very believable.
Yep.
So,
I
but
I I don't know anyone. I don't think I've seen anyone that really disagrees. It's just a
yeah,
a matter of opinion at this point.
yeah, yeah, that's too bad.
Yep.
So,
But as speaking as a Bruins fan and an American, I feel bad for Ottawa. They've had like 4 or 5 times over the last decade what seems like, all right, this might be the roster that puts them in a playoff spot. And they got in last year, and it was a promising series against the Leafs, and they are just marred with dysfunction for
yep,
so long.
yep, yeah, it's a mini version of the Leafs,
Yeah, the
really.
junior Leafs. Yep.
Yeah, it really is, and the Leafs spend way, way, way more money than Ottawa does on its roster, but the Leafs are like absolutely cursed because they can't have any
They're
success,
not
and
even in a playoff spot as of today.
no, and they spend a lot of money and they expect results, and Ottawa they're like the absolute stepchild of of the National League. I mean, you know, they should be good. I mean, they've had a lot of time to get it right, and they like you said, they're right on the cusp of going over the bridge, and they just can never pull it off. And
I never thought about it, but before the Capitals won that cup, coach, both of the nation's capitals were kind of the little brother, like Washington to Pittsburgh and Ottawa to Toronto
yep,
for a little while.
yep. And correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't Linus Ullmark the first goalie to win the Vezina and then leave his team?
I believe he left a
believe.
year after that.
Was it after? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But still, I mean, that was on paper, a great get for Ottawa.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But remember when Linus Ullmark played in Buffalo.
Oh, no, you're right, coach. Or no. It was 2 years later. He won the Vezina, played one more year with us, and then went to Ottawa.
Yeah, okay. And but still, you don't have very many Vezina winners leave. Maybe a few years down the road, but
nope. And we've talked about
it
with Swayman and him in the logjam with Brandon Bussey, who's now continuing his run in Carolina. Made an unbelievable save the other night. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, the glove save. Yeah,
Yeah.
I sure did. Yeah, I mean, he's dialed in, and you can never give up on guys. But I remember talking about Brandon Bussey, and I watched him in juniors, and nothing special at all. In college, I mean, it's okay, but there was so much doubt around him. And what team cut him this year?
Us. Or no. We released him, and he got you're
Florida
challenging my memory. Yeah, you're right, coach. Florida, and then they got picked
Florida
up
had him and just put him on waivers. I mean, they're the ones with, little egg, got to have a little egg in their face, but you also get Bob in net.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, does it really matter? And he's not going to get an opportunity to knock Bob. Bob's getting paid $10 million a year or whatever it is. He's not going to lose his job. But good for Brandon Bussey just to go to a place and find himself. And he must have people that just believe in him. He believes in himself. But you get to that age where you're like, screw it. I'm just going to go do my thing. And the earlier someone can conquer that, the better. And some goalies never conquer that. They never do. That's why you have good year, bad year, good year, bad year, bad year, bad year. You just never get into a really good rhythm year after year. And that's extremely difficult to do, having consistency and longevity, in a good way. That's really hard to do. So hopefully it's not a flash in the pan, a 1-year deal with Bussey. Hopefully he has a great run for a long time.
That's why when we had Helly on, I wanted to ask him about how he does that, because it's such a different part of growing up watching my dad. He had 4 or 5 days to reset, and Helly has a smaller window, and it's much more like physical, and I don't know. That part of it was so fascinating.
I mean, early season, you're all jacked up for a new season. And then, it gets into November, December, January. Everyone's tired. This is an Olympic year, so it's a little different. He's really looking forward to going to Italy. But on a normal year, it is such a grind, and how they do it. And that's why what he has done personally in the National League gets more impressive every year. And this is the first kind of off year he's had, but he's actually played well. You still have to have a pretty good team in front of you to get some wins. Remember, he won 47 games last year. And what is he at now? Like 12 or something like that?
I don't know.
Not many. Not as many as he's accustomed to.
He's been hurt.
Yeah, he has. He's had just an off year.
Coach, did you know that, or were you just guessing? He has exactly 12.
Yeah, I think it was in that ballpark.
Okay.
But, hopefully it'll be just an anomaly this season and right back at it next year. And, but his mind is what makes him, his outlook, his approach. And as we talked about last week, Gary, when I visited him a few weeks ago, his mind was great. He was confident. He's like, I'm not going to worry about this. And the team was in the middle of an 11-game winless streak. Yikes.
Yeah.
And for most people, that would just crush them mentally. And he's like, no, I'm all right. I'm just going to work through this. So it's all mental. It really is. It's all mental. And, but the earlier, like I mentioned before, the earlier you can conquer the mental part of it, the better. But how do you get a 20-year-old to have that kind of confidence? It's very, very difficult.
And to keep that. like at that age is such a
Right.
when you're the
Right.
center of attention and you've never again we've talked about it already. Never had this much money in your life. You've never had this many people talking about you at once. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
overwhelming.
He's been very grounded for years, and he's carried on. He's believed in it. He's believed in his own process and in his own thoughts, so to speak. And he's believed in it. He's never wavered. And look at the consistency he's put forth. And but I think the other thing no one ever talks about. At some point, athletes have to kind of look in the mirror or look at the calendar and say, "Look, I only have so many years left." And when you're 22 or 23, you don't look at life that way. But at some point, you got to look, and when you're someone like Ellie, who's 32, it'll be 33 in May. You got to look at the calendar and say, "You know what? I want to make hay while the sun shines." And I've only got X amount of years left. But my playing days, I'm over the halfway point for sure, and I would expect anyways. To analyze that a little bit and think about, you know what, I'm not going to worry about what anyone says. I'm going to go try to enjoy myself, and I know that means a lot to Connor. He wants to enjoy himself. He wants to have fun playing the game, and no one's going to ruin that. Media is not going to ruin. He's still playing the game and he's still enjoying it. He's a pretty good goalie, but I know the Olympics is a big deal to him. It would not surprise me to see him do really well there. I hope he does. Hope the team does. Whoever's in goal, but I hope he's leading the way. But it wouldn't surprise me to see him lead the way. I would bet. I would bet on him. Absolutely bet
I'm
on him.
stoked for the Olympics. I'm excited to see how he plays.
Yeah, yeah. So it'll be fun.
You
It'll
got
be
anything
fun.
else, Coach? Or
Uh no, no, I don't. I don't.
I don't have trivia for you today, but I do have a fun fact.
What do you got?
Do you know how the Predators got their name, the Nashville Predators?
No, I questioned it in a big way when they call the Predators, but
Yeah.
whatever.
So me
So
too.
I'll
And the rumor around Nashville when you go to games and stuff is people tell you that they found a saber-toothed tiger when they were building the arena, which is almost true. What happened was they were building one of the sky-rise office buildings next to where Bridgestone is now,
yeah.
and what they found was a saber-toothed skeleton,
Uh,
almost completely intact.
No way.
Yeah, and
What?
they now have it on display. This is what they found. I don't know if you can see that.
Wow.
Isn't that
Holy
crazy?
smokes. That's amazing.
So it wasn't
Huh.
exactly underneath or where the arena is now, but in the
Yeah, there's
70s
the vicinity.
when they were
Wow.
developing that area, they found all this pieces of a saber-toothed tiger.
Holy smokes.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's very believable.
Yeah,
I mean, very, very believable.
and again,
Wow.
don't know that Predators is still the best name, but it's a little bit more excusable now.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, when that name came out, I'm like, "Nah, really? Why?"
It's a little awkward when the Predators and Oilers play each other here.
Yeah, oh my
They
god,
call it the P. Diddy Bowl.
yeah, 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 yeah. One of my favorite Saturday Night Live skits um, was, and I think I can't remember the name of the skit, but they were making fun of football and the Oilers and the Packers and things like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's the same deal.
Yeah.
It's very very funny, but like Predators came out like, no, no, don't do that, don't name them that. But it anyway, it all worked out. They get a good franchise, and
Yeah.
Barry Trotz, actually, the GM, is a very good old friend. Known him a lot of years. Really good guy, and ownership great. So it's an outstanding franchise all the way.
And it's a
So
great place to go to a game if you haven't been. So
yeah,
we
yeah, been to
will
that several times.
we'll be back next week. And after next week, I'll be going to the stadium series. So I will have some clips and videos and pics for you guys from
Enjoy,
that in
enjoy
Tampa as
that,
well.
enjoy that. All right, buddy.
All righty, coach. I'll talk to you next week.
All right, take care. Good seeing you.
Take care, guys.